Microsoft Surface Laptop 7 Review makes me believe in the Surface series again. The Microsoft Surface Laptop 7 is well-rounded and high-performing. It's no secret that I'm not fond of the Microsoft Surface Laptop series, so even with the Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite chip and all the new Copilot Plus AI bells and whistles attached to the Microsoft Surface Laptop 7, I wasn't expecting much of an upgrade. But to my surprise, it's quickly turning into one of the best Windows laptops and best laptops of the year thanks to a sleek design, solid battery life, and excellent performance. The display is quite beautiful no matter which version you purchase, as the lowest resolution is still an impressive 2304 by 1536, above 2K, with a pretty solid 120Hz refresh rate. The specs range is also great, coupled with some of the best pricing for an AI PC I've seen so far. It's thin and light too, an absolute breeze to carry around for work, school, and more. The Surface Laptop 7 sports great specs, which translates to excellent performance comparable to two other AI PCs, the Dell XPS 13, 2024, and the Asus VivoBook S15. Battery life is also quite great, competing with the likes of the best MacBooks in that regard. The Snapdragon X Elite CPU is truly excellent, but it's not perfect, at least at this time due to its ARM-based OS. These issues don't surface when it comes to productivity work, unless you come across rare compatibility issues with a few Bluetooth accessories, but through gaming, they can be more noticeable. Prism emulation does compensate for most games and more apps are being released on ARM. There are still roadblocks before it reaches complete compatibility for Windows on ARM. The positive is that ARM has already made incredible progress in terms of these improvements, so it shouldn't be more than several months before the remaining issues are cleared up. The starting price for the Microsoft Surface Laptop 7 13.8-inch model is $999.99/£1,049.99/1,899 Australian dollars, netting you a Qualcomm Snapdragon X Plus processor with 16GB RAM and 256GB SSD storage. The 15-inch model starts at $1,299.99 and comes with a Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite processor, 16GB RAM, and 256GB SSD. It's cheaper than the entry-level M3 MacBook Air 13-inch and matches the starting price of the M3 MacBook Air 15-inch, while the highest configuration roughly matches the price of the highest configuration of the MacBook Air. It's also cheaper than the Asus VivoBook S15 or Dell XPS 13, 2024, and with comparable specs to boot. The Microsoft Surface Laptop 7 13.8-inch model starts with a Qualcomm Snapdragon X Plus processor with 16GB RAM and 256GB SSD storage. The 15-inch model starts out with a Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite processor, 16GB RAM, and 256GB SSD. One of the most consistent aspects of the Surface Laptop series are the designs. The chassis is always sleek and lightweight yet sturdy, there's a nice variety of colors to choose from, and the keyboard feels snappy and responsive while typing. Thankfully, the Laptop 7 doesn't change on that front but instead embraces its positives while focusing its efforts on enacting improvements it actually needs. The Microsoft Surface Laptop 7 boasts a 13.8-inch, 2304 by 1536, HDR-supported display with a high refresh rate of 120Hz, especially high for a non-gaming laptop. It weighs less than 3 pounds, ensuring its super portability an absolute gem for any office worker or student who needs to transport it around between home and work offices or to and from school. I wish it also featured an OLED screen option, but omitting it keeps the cost down, so it makes sense. Its keyboard is also just as snappy and responsive as you'd expect, though the touchpad has minimal response issues that need to be rectified by adjusting the sensitivity settings. The webcam is the standard 1080p fare, nothing too shabby, but it lacks a physical shutter which for its price point is an oversight worth mentioning. Port selection isn't the worst, as it comes with two USB Type-C ports, a USB Type-A port, and a combo port. But it's certainly not well balanced either, with it missing several important ports like Ethernet, SD card reader, There is a micro SD slot in the larger 15-inch model, however, and an HDMI. Even worse, Microsoft still insists on that abysmal Surface Laptop Connect charging port, which only serves to take up space that could have been given to literally anything else. It has a solid sound quality as well, with instruments sounding clear and distinct from each other in music. Bass isn't too shabby as well, which is always surprising when it comes to a non-ultrabook or gaming laptop.